Okay, this is unscripted, but I wanted to visit with you a little bit about your democracy video project, which is your final exam for the Maymester. And everything is so fast, I wasn't sure that you would find everything you needed within the directions of the project online written. So I'm going to go over a little bit about it. You're going to create a very short video. Don't freak out over that. You don't have to be in the video. You can be in the video. You can have other people in the video. You can cut and paste into the video. Whatever it is that you want to do. The point is that you are going to make an argument. That means you're going to have a conclusion at the end, and then you're going to have an action step for us. What can you cover? You can cover anything that we have already discussed. So throughout this 2 weeks, you're going to look at the things and have looked at the things that reduce democracy and increase economic inequality. So we've been looking at the effects of not having an informed populace, no participation, no transparency, no accountability, certainly not for the people, of the people, and by the people. So you can choose an approach. You can utilize these tools of economic inequality. Power and influence, deregulation, privatization. Power and influence can be conflict of interest, revolving door, lobbying. And then some of the ways that economic inequality and reduced democracy show up is in our public policy. So in our financial rules and regulations. So for example, you can take two different approaches. You could decide, all right, I want to concentrate on, let's say, deregulation. So you can argue that deregulation or misregulation reduces democracy. And these are the ways. And you can use different examples for that. So you could use examples of some things you learned in Inside Jobs. You could use something you've learned in one of your weekly readings. You could use something from Inequality for All or Noam Chomsky's Requiem of American Dream. You have a lot to utilize. So you can use a broad topic, and then you could use different areas to illustrate your point. Or you could pick a specific area. So let's say Inside Jobs, and I have been reading your work. It's going to take me a little while to get through it. Some of you, it was pretty wow moment. So you may decide, okay, I really want to concentrate on something from Inside Jobs, which I hope you do. I don't think most people understand what happened and what we need to do now. In fact, we are in the process of dismantling everything we did to protect us from that happening again. So if you took something from Inside Jobs, clearly the lack of regulation, deregulation, fraudulent behavior resulted in the 2008 meltdown. You're very familiar with this. It also showed some examples of conflict of interest, revolving door. So you could just take some things from the film. You could even argue this is what happened, and this is going to happen again. And it will happen again if we don't make some changes. It may not look exactly the same, but we're already doing a lot of things right now, including the bailout. The bailout of the airlines right now that we have given, we're holding them completely unaccountable. They, over the last 3 years, have spent all their profits, have given themselves bonuses. So they have nothing left in the reserve. And then when the COVID-19 thing happened, they had nothing there. That was a result of their own irresponsibility and profit taking. And now, who is going to cover the tab for that? Well, you and I. That's not the only thing. There's a lot of things going on with the stimulus package. When corporations are already have a lot of fluidity, they're doing fine, they're profitable, why are we giving them subsidies? So, Trump has dismantled a lot of the regulation, including the things that you've already known about. So there's a lot of things you can do just from that alone. At this point in time, I'm not sure you've watched Inequality for All by Robert Reich. His emphasis is going to be more on the issue that you may decide to tackle. Rather than taking a broad approach, you could take a specific issue. You could say, the financial rules and regulations, and you could just utilize everything in inside jobs. You could decide you want to do labor and taxation issues. You've read a lot about it. You understand a lot more than most people. So he's going to outline a lot of key important points about labor. He was labor secretary under Clinton. He is, he's a very well accomplished person. He has taught at Stanford, Yale, and now he teaches at Berkeley. I was able to take a couple classes from him. You could actually take a free class from him if you'd like to. So he's going to cover labor, what's going on, and how much we overlook this issue, why we aren't doing well. And one of the biggest factors he will point out, and he will show the research. Some of them you've already read some of the research, but he'll point out that research on taxation of corporations. They don't pay their fair share. I mean, even people, Warren Buffett, who owns Berkshire Hathaway, even he says, it's ridiculous that my secretary pays more in taxes, pays a higher percent than I do. So you could do that, trickle down and middle out economics. That is a really key point in the film Inequality for All. Nick Hauser is going to talk about that. He's got a recent book, but he's a billionaire himself, and he will say, and this is an important point for you to remember and to share with other people. People don't understand what makes up the economy. People accept the argument that corporations have made forever and said, you need to give us all these tax breaks because we're going to trickle down all this money to the economy and it's going to help you. Well, we're all still waiting for the trickle. It's never happened, and it's never going to happen. They're going to take that money, they're going to offshore it, they're going to give it themselves bonuses, they're going to do all kinds of things with it, none of which includes labor. What they're interested in is increasing profit. Labor decreases it, but labor makes it all happen. So 70% of the economy is dependent upon consumers. So if we don't have healthy consumers, if labor is not doing well, then we can't buy stuff. And if we can't buy stuff, the economy is going to hurt. So we have to keep labor healthy if we want a healthy economy. That is not what they argue. Because, see, they're not interested in a healthy economy necessarily right here. They are interested in healthy profit for themselves. It doesn't matter if it's here or China or anywhere else. They don't care. They're fine with hiring people in Indonesia for $30 a month. They're good with that. So pay close attention. There's plenty of things that you could cover in Inside Jobs. Trickle down, wages, taxation. Gosh, you're going to look at a little bit of this. Subsidies, abatements, corporate welfare. Most people don't know anything about corporate welfare. They don't understand the handouts we give and subsidies and abatements nationally, statewide, and locally. So you could do that. You could look at, I think healthcare is pretty complicated. I don't know that you have enough time to deal with that. You certainly could profit. We have a profit-driven healthcare. That's one of the biggest problems we have. If you do want to do that, talk to me first so I can help you so that you're not spending a bunch of time doing things that aren't going to accomplish the project. All right, so you can pick a specific tool or instrument as seen in the chart. You could look at deregulation and illustrate the cases, various cases from banking, environmental law, healthcare, etc. Or you can pick a specific area and use various tools to make your point. So if you picked an area like financial regulation, then you could use various broader things to talk about that. So make sure you read that chart and become familiar with it. The reason I'm talking to you now is because I want you to already be thinking about it, because you're going to have to produce it. It's going to have to be finished by May 24th. I shortened it to 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to need to have a YouTube link, and you can produce your video, upload it to YouTube. Do not make it private. You have to make it public. Then you can include that in a Word document. In that Word document, you need to give me a 250-word description of what you learned, etc., what you would like to see happen, and also your sources, and just put the link in there. That's the easiest way. You can do it other ways. I don't care, as long as you get it done. But by midnight on the 24th, it has to be done. So I give you an example. Now, the example is a long project, and I don't expect you to do that, obviously. If you have questions, I need you to text or call. If you call me, leave me a message, or text me and I'll call you. I'd like you to do that before Friday afternoon. I'm going to have limited availability from Friday the 22nd until that Monday, so I'm concerned about that. So I want you to review and see if you have questions, and let's get those questions addressed before late Friday afternoon. I will have access, but the only access I think will be through Wi-Fi, and you'd have to message me on Canvas, and then I would check it at night when I have access to Wi-Fi. All right? I'm sure you all will do great, but again, it's very fast-paced. So hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight. Simplify it for yourself, but I want you to do something that is important, and important specifically to you. And many of you have expressed a lot of concern for some of the things that you've already seen. So there'll be a lot available just from the 3 films alone and from your weekly readings. There's plenty of material. Text me, we can go over it. I'd be happy to.